Chapter 17. The Demon of the Void. There was no sensation. No falling, no rising, no light, no dark, no sound. Deagan existed, if existence was even the word for this state. His body wasn't there. His chains weren't there. Even his thoughts came slowly, like ripples in a frozen pond. Am I dead? The question didn't echo, because there was nothing to carry it. The void was not a place. It wasn't even emptiness. It was the absence of everything. After what felt like centuries, or no time at all, a faint ripple moved through the nothingness. It wasn't sound, wasn't sight, wasn't touch. It was awareness, something vast and cold noticing him. The awareness spoke, not with words, not with voice, but with the crushing pressure of thought. Another fragment falls into me. The nothingness pressed against him, smothering what little he still was. You are not a man, you are not a soul, you are noise in the silence, and I erase noise. For the first time since death, Deagan felt something he hadn't in a long time. The edges of himself beginning to dissolve. He tried to move, but there was no body. He tried to think, but the thought bled out of him like ink in water. His memories scattered, Mara, his mother, Riker, even the endless battles, all slipping away into the void. The awareness pulsed again. You think you have endured hell, but hell is something. You are in nothing. There is nothing to fight, nothing to win, nothing to be. A shape began to form in the distance, or maybe it was close in front of him, inside him. It had no shape, yet every shape. It was the demon of the void, a constantly shifting absence, visible only because it erased the nothingness around it. Where it moved, even thoughts died. No, I won't vanish here. He tried to summon the chains. Nothing happened. He tried to feel the cold will that had carried him this far. Nothing. The void whispered again, soft but crushing. You are fatting. Soon there will be no Deagan. There will only be silence. His cracks widened, not on his body but on what was left of him. For the first time in countless battles, there was no light in him. The void pulsed brighter, as if smiling without a mouth. You cannot fight nothing. Deagan drifted, or at least he thought he drifted. In this place, movement was meaningless. There was no up, down, or forward. Every attempt to will himself somewhere only collapsed back into stillness. The void seeped deeper into him. First it stole the feeling of time. Seconds, minutes, years, all blurred into a single meaningless moment. Then it stole his sense of self. His name slipped from his mind, fluttering away like ash in the wind. Who was he? Why was he here? The questions melted before they could form. Finally, it began to eat his memories. Faces dissolved into the black. Mara's voice faded like an echo swallowed by distance. His mother's touch vanished like it had never been. Even the endless battles, the pain, the victories gone. Only fragments remained, faint outlines of things that might have happened to someone else. The void pulsed with satisfaction. Good, you are beginning to understand. You were never real. You were a shadow born of suffering. Let go and I will make you perfect, perfectly nothing. The awareness grew larger, filling everything. It didn't need to move. It was everywhere. Wherever Deagan's consciousness drifted, it was there, erasing. He tried to resist, but there was no resistance. He had no body to clench, no chains to swing, no voice to scream. Only the faint whisper of a thought. I don't stop. The void smothered even that. There is nothing to stop. There is no fight. There is no you. The absence crawled into the deepest cracks of what remained of him. With every pulse, something else disappeared. One moment, he remembered the sound of his motorcycle engine. Gone. One moment, he remembered Mara's smile. Gone. One moment, he remembered his own face. Gone. The last pieces of him slipped away, falling into the endless nothing. And then the void showed him its gift. Before him stretched an eternity of absolute silence, A place where there was no pain, no suffering, no weight. Nothing mattered because nothing existed. There were no battles, no losses, no choices. For a fraction of a second, he felt peace. True, absolute, suffocating peace. The void's voice softened, almost tender. Stay, dissolve, become silence. No more fighting, no more storms, just rest. And he almost did. From deep within the darkness, something flickered. Not love, not hope, not even the cold will that had carried him through despair and fear. Something far more primitive. The refusal to stop existing. The flicker became a spark. The spark became a white ember. The ember became fire. For the first time in the void, light appeared. It burned faint but steady, radiating from the cracks that still clung to what was left of Deagan. The void recoiled. What is this? You have nothing left, you cannot burn. The white light grew, forcing the nothingness back. For the first time, Deagan's voice, weak but clear, echoed through the absence. I am. The void screamed, a soundless vibration that shattered the illusion of peace. Its formless mass twisted violently, rushing toward him to smother the light. The light didn't flicker, it flared. Chains, burning white, snapped back into existence, coiling around him like serpents. They glowed brighter than ever, not because of hope or anger, but because of the absolute refusal to vanish. Deagan's voice rose, cutting through the void like a blade. I don't need to be whole. I don't need to remember. I don't need anything but this. The chains erupted outward, piercing the shifting absence. I exist because I say I do. The void shrieked as the white fire spread across its shapeless form, tearing it apart from the inside. Every piece it lost reformed but weaker. The fire was not burning it, it was defining it, forcing the formless thing to take shape. For the first time, the void was no longer everywhere. It was a thing, and things could die. The light of his chains forced the darkness to compress, condensing the formless enemy into a shape. At first it flickered, shifting like liquid shadow, but the more Deagan's fire burned, the more it was forced into a solid body. When it finally stabilized, it was a towering creature, black as the absence it came from, its edges constantly dissolving and reforming. Its face was a smooth void, a hole where light bent inward. The void's voice no longer whispered, it roared, the sound vibrating so hard it tore apart pieces of the realm. You dare give me form. You dare define what is undefinable. Deagan's chains coiled around him, white fire bleeding off them like mist. His eyes glowed with the same cold brilliance, his cracked body pulsing faintly. You're nothing, and I'll use that against you. The creature lunged, its arms stretching like tendrils of night, tearing through the empty space. Deagan swung his chains, each strike ripping holes in reality where they connected, burning through the darkness. The void screamed, not in pain but in rage, each sound warping the space around them. The battlefield twisted, gravity flipped, directions reversed, and Deagan was hurled through a collapsing corridor of black shards. But he anchored himself with his chains, planting them into the collapsing walls, dragging himself back into the fight. The creature struck again, splitting into multiple copies, surrounding him from all angles. Deagan didn't hesitate. He spun the chains, creating a vortex of white fire that tore through the duplicates, consuming them to nothing. The void reformed behind him, a single massive mouth opening across its torso, sucking everything inward. The pull was immense, threatening to drag him into its endless hunger. The chains latched into the fabric of the realm, anchoring him. He leaned forward against the pull, his voice cold and steady. You want to erase me? Try harder. With a roar, he hurled the chains into the creature's chest, embedding them deep. The white fire spread like veins, forcing the void to hold its form as it thrashed violently. The blackness rippled, bleeding from the cracks the chains had made. I am nothing, I cannot die. Deagan pulled hard, forcing the creature closer, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Then I'll turn you into something and break you." The chains flared blindingly, their light so bright it burned holes in the empty sky. The void writhed, its body splitting, fragments falling away as Deagan tore it apart piece by piece. Reality itself screamed as the creature's form collapsed, exposing its core, a swirling sphere of black so dense it bent the light around it, the last piece of pure nothingness. The core pulsed, bending the collapsing realm around it. Every beat of its existence ripped away pieces of space, chunks of Deagan's very being dissolving into smoke. His arm vanished at the elbow, only to reform in a flash of white fire. Parts of his chest cracked open, the glow inside flickering. The void's voice was no longer calm or commanding. It was desperate, distorted, vibrating through everything. "You cannot win. You are already mine. Every strike you make destroys you as well." Deagan staggered, the pull of the core threatening to unravel him completely. His chains lashed out, embedding into the black sphere, but the instant they touched it, pieces of the chains evaporated, pulled into nothing. The pain was unlike anything he had felt, burning, freezing, crushing all at once. His vision dimmed, his form beginning to splinter. The void tried to speak again, but its voice fractured into thousands of whispers, all clawing at his mind. "Let go, dissolve. You've done enough, stop fighting, be nothing." For an instant his knees buckled, his arms trembled, he almost dropped the chains. Then he remembered the feeling he had in despair, in fear, in death. Not warmth, not love, not hope. The raw, unyielding refusal to stop existing. Through the pain, he forced his mouth to move, his voice hoarse but sharp. "I'll burn even if it kills me." The chains reignited, brighter than ever, fueled not by life but by his will to simply be. They wrapped around the core, each link searing white fire into the darkness. The void howled, a sound that shook the fabric of nothingness itself. The pull intensified, tearing at Deagan's body. Pieces of him shredded away, swallowed into the sphere. Half his face vanished, one leg dissolved to ash, but still he pulled. Every second felt like he was dying, and every second he refused to stop. The core's surface cracked. Black tendrils burst out, lashing at him, trying to rip him apart. He caught them with what remained of his hands, letting them tear through his flesh, using the pain to anchor himself. With one last roar, he yanked the chains tight, dragging the core toward him. The cracks widened, the void screamed. "You cannot end what was never born." Deagan pulled harder, the fire inside him erupting in a blinding explosion. "No, but I can still kill you." The chains crushed the core. It imploded, collapsing inward, sucking everything with it. The entire realm was pulled into a single point, a collapsing star of black and white. Then silence. The light faded. Deagan floated in the aftermath, his body half gone, only a silhouette of white cracks remaining. The chains, now faint, coiled loosely around him, smoking with dying fire. The void was gone, not defeated, erased. The silence was different now. It wasn't the consuming silence of nothing, it was the silence of something that had ended. The cloaked figure appeared from the fatting mist, its form unstable, flickering. Its glowing eyes burned dimly, almost in fear. "You killed the void." Deagan's voice was barely audible, yet it shook the dying space. "I didn't kill it, I replaced it." The figure hesitated, bowing its head slightly. "You are no longer storm, nor man, nor soul. You are what comes after nothing." Deagan looked toward the rippling crack that opened ahead, the final path forming in the emptiness. "Then open the next door." The figure's voice trembled, whispering almost reverently. "Beyond lies truth, even you may not survive it." Deagan stepped into the crack without hesitation. The light swallowed him,